What's good, everybody? This is Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as AJ Spun61 in all places on the internet. You haven't seen me on here in quite a while, I believe. First video on the channel in, what, like a year or so? I'm actually pulling it up now just to see exactly when the last time I posted some type of standalone video. Oh my god, it's been 2022. So I went all of last year and then most of this year without putting a video on my channel. Damn. Hi, sorry about that. Been doing a lot of other things lately. I don't know if you guys follow me in other places, but perhaps I'll talk about all that stuff at the end. But I have something I want to talk about, and I didn't think that any of the other outlets that I have in which to talk about things would necessarily be the place for this conversation. And I also think, I don't know, I just want to talk about it in my own way, unobscured from conversations with others. I just want to like straight up talk about this thing. And this thing that I want to talk about is the recent Supreme Court ruling that basically gives presidential immunity to any president for quote-unquote official actions, and what this means, because I think anybody who's paying attention to the situation and seeing the discourse around it, both, you know, in the news media and also online, knows what this can mean. This means that all of the stuff that President Trump did a couple of years ago with, you know, staging a coup on January 6th and a couple other things, this sets the precedent for him not getting legal repercussions for those actions. And this also sets the precedent for any other president that comes along in the future. They no longer have any, they can just do whatever they want and just call it a presidential act, and they're immune from any legal repercussions for it. People are worried that, you know, Trump's going to come in office at the end of this year. First off, they're worried that he's going to come in office at the end of this year. And then second off, they're worried that once he does get there, we already had Project 2025 kind of getting set in place, where they're worried about him having a plan to eradicate a lot of the policies and laws and whatnot that protect marginalized people in America, protect you know, the poor in America. They saw those plans and said, hey, with Project 2025, he can basically get in there and wreak havoc because he knows what he's doing this time, and he has a team of people who knows what they're doing this time. And this Supreme Court ruling kind of paves the way for a lot of those plans to go into action. But I gotta be honest, this is, when I saw all this happen, it's less that I'm afraid of Trump. Like, of course, hopefully if y'all have been watching any of my videos, or if you keep up with me anywhere else on the internet, you know, Twitter, any of my other shows and stuff I do, I don't like Donald Trump. He does not stand for anything I stand for. I'm not aligned with him on anything. And beyond all the like moral repercussions, like, I think he's a bad person, yeah, but he's also like just confirmed to be a pedophile now. Like the Epstein things are leaking out, and all the actual records and stuff and testimonies are leaking out. Bro had sex with like a 12-year-old. So like, I don't, well, like, I think two 12-year-olds, maybe one was 13. Either way, I don't want to give out the whole details, but like, it's gnarly stuff in there. That's public knowledge. Yet he's likely still going to be on this ticket. And just beyond that, like, just everything about the dude's bad. And I think anyone who's caring enough to go seek out my YouTube channel and watch this video, by the way, I think you're going to be seeing some God Hand gameplay. If not, you'll see something on there. Hopefully it's entertaining. I just don't stand for the man. There's nothing about what he wants to do that I can get behind. He doesn't stand for me. He doesn't care about not just me as, you know, the individual I am in Watkins Jr. He doesn't care about anyone who looks like me, anyone in my economic position. He doesn't care about anybody who could even be compared to me. So like, I know he's morally bankrupt in all ways, really. And to be completely honest, he's just as old as Joe Biden, just about. They're both ancient and decrepit. He can just put out words a little bit more eloquently, but like, even eloquently is a stretch. He's just not stumbling over his words like he's ready for a nap like Joe Biden is. But those words that he's saying are some of the most abhorrent, apprehensible shit that I've ever heard. But I think the point is that, like, I say all this, who cares about Trump in this scenario? Because if you're in this circle, if you're someone that I would be able to reach with this video, you already understand that Donald Trump is a terrible character and has no business in politics, let alone in existence. So, like, I don't want to belabor that point. I don't want to go back and forth about, like, all the stuff that he would do about all the stuff he would do with that power. What I want to do is focus on the Democratic Party and the side of politics that want good things to happen but aren't always ready to get their hands dirty. And I'm gonna be talking a little bit hypocritically, but I think the thing that frustrates me the most is because I just got done watching President Biden's his short little speech he gave right after the Supreme Court immunity ruling, and he comes out and he says, hey, basically gives an overlay of the situation, saying, like, okay, this ruling basically gives any president in the future to act like a king. They can just do whatever they want and just claim immunity because it's an official act of the presidency. And I agree with that. But that ruling means that you, President Biden, the current president right now, has that same power. You can act like a king. You can act like a monarch. You can do whatever you feel you need to do to ensure the safety of the people that you, apparently now the appropriate word to use would be rule over. You can be that ruler now. And it's not, that shouldn't be a thing. We should not have presidents that are kings. We should not have presidents who have complete immunity to do whatever the fuck they want and just completely untie their hands. There should be a checks and balance process, all that stuff. But what frustrates me about not just President Biden, but the entire Democratic Party, is that they have such a fetishization of the rules. They love the process so much. They are so married to the process that it ties their hands to actually do actions. Because I'll tell you what, if I, being the type of person I believe I try to be at least, with my morals, if I truly believe that trans rights are human rights, if I truly believe that the working class is being taken advantage of viciously right now by most corporations and most companies, if I believe that the job market that I want it to go to, video games and video game journalism, that's a shrinking market and a dying market that is slowly being populated more and more by individual journalistic outlets, like indie outlets, rather than the big corporations. Like, pretty soon it's just going to be IGN and GameSpot left. Everybody else is getting bought up and sold off and getting destroyed. If I believe I wanted to care about any of these things and I had complete immunity to do whatever I want, then I'm moving some shit around. I'm garnishing some funds. I'm taking some billionaires' money and redistributing it to other programs. I'm reinforcing different regulatory agencies. I am doing a bunch of shit. You told me I have complete free will to do whatever I want, then I'm going to be doing shit. I'm not waiting on Congress. I'm not waiting on the House of Representatives. I'm not waiting on anybody else to tell me what I can and cannot do. I'm going to make this shit happen right now. And then if that makes me unpopular come, the presidency, or not the presidency, if that makes me unpopular come the election, so be it. I don't think it would make me unpopular during the election for reasons I'll talk about in a second, probably. But that's just the type of time I will be on. The second you tell me I can do whatever the fuck I want, I'm doing whatever I can to make things better. But what the Democratic Party at large, not every single member of it, but what the Democratic Party at large seems to be displaying is that even when you completely untie their hands, they will sit there and in protest not use the power that they've been given, because what they value is not things being better for the people. What they value is the process. The process is what they value over everything else. That is the thing that they find most important about Trump. They don't completely care about the stuff he said about Mexicans and other ethnic groups. They don't completely care about the stuff he said about women, especially because you look on the Democratic side, there's some people who did some fucked up shit with women too. They don't care about the stuff he said about black people, because a lot of people on the Democratic Party passed a lot of crime bills and shit that fucked up black people heavily. They don't care about all that stuff. What they care is that he got into office and shook shit up to where a lot of the institutions and presidential norms and whatnot got fucked up. They are mad that the process is different. They safeguard the process over everything else. And so when the process is broken, they will do exactly what Biden said and be like, I'm going to respect the powers and the limits of my power that have been in place for 3 years. I'm going to respect those limits. Cool. But if you are the morally superior one that we've all been led to believe to Trump, then wouldn't you get out here and do the opposite of Trump would do? Because we all know what Trump would do. He would flip a bunch of shit and make things worse for every single person who isn't either rich or white. He would effectively put a death sentence on everybody who doesn't fit into one of those two categories. And even a lot of the white people, let's keep this real right here. If you're white and under a certain economic class, you might as well be black. You might as well be the rest of us, because you're getting treated the same way by the people with actual power. So like, a lot of people like to think, or a lot of white people like to think, well, I'm white, so I'm just inherently better than this person, that person, that person. The world does not see you that way. The world sees you as your economic class first and foremost. So if you are beneath a certain line, if you're in the poverty line, but you're white, you have no superiority to stand on when it comes to anyone else. In fact, there's plenty of people of color above you with more money that look down at you. So that's just one thing I wanted to say. But to go back to this, it frustrates me that the Democratic Party is taking this thing, because their whole thing is going to be, now this is unless God, I don't think this will happen. I would love it if it did, but we have until about August to confirm Biden as the presidential nominee for the Democratic Party. I think within the Democratic Party right now, there's a lot of concern over letting that happen, because we've already been talking about that. Hey, Joe Biden's old. He's very, very old. And if you're someone like me, it's beyond, oh, he's old. He is still someone with the policies of, a Democrat from the 80s. And a lot of them, like I said, passing crime bills and whatnot. He's still stuck in those ways of, like, you're not seeing the progress that's been made. You're not seeing what's possible to propose policy wise now that some ceilings have been broken. And of course, the genocide going on in Palestine that he's directly contributing funds towards, leaning on Israel for a lot of militarily dubious shit. Like, I'm not down with that either. So, like, I already don't like Biden, but they're gonna let him be the person on the ticket, and now it's gonna be a mixture of, we don't like Biden, he's old, and he does a bunch of abhorrent shit that we don't like either, and then Trump's on the other side as well. I think what frustrates me the most is that if that's what the ticket is, they're gonna do the same thing they did in 2016, and by they I mean all of us, and also individual specific types of people. What I'm thinking might happen is that we have a repeat of 2016, wherein people voted for Biden because they just had a bunch of Trump and were just tired of Trump. Like, they were tired of hearing something bad about him all the time. Not because they wanted something good, but because that's all the news was for 4 years. Like, eventually people are like, all right, we'll change the channel. Like, yes, we want to know the bad shit that's going on because it affects us as a culture, as a company, as well. Shit, America might as well just be a company for fucking corporations in a trench coat. But people got tired of hearing just having the news be negative all the time, like catastrophically negative all the time. And so they said, all right, we just want something that isn't that. And of course, a lot of people were affected by a lot of the policies that Trump enacted. A lot of people, you know, people couldn't leave the country or couldn't get back into the country. It messed up a lot of people's money, etc., etc., etc. But a grand majority of people were just like, yo, I'm tired of hearing about this nigga. So like a lot of people voted for Biden because they got a taste of Trump and did not like it. I have a feeling the Democratic Party understands that, but they aren't trying to push the needle. I feel like the Democratic Party is just, at least since 2008, they've been trying to just toe the line. They've been trying to just be very middle of the road about shit and just not really progress anything forward. It's hard to call them a progressive party when they don't progress much of anything. They try to keep things the way they are. They try to keep things the same. And every now and then they'll eke in some official protection or some official, you know, benefit or bonus. You know, during the Obama years, what we had, gay marriage being legalized, and we had what the healthcare bills and laws. I think during Biden's administration, he passed a pretty big climate change bill. But ultimately, gay marriage is great, and you know, healthcare is great, and honestly, the climate change stuff is great as well. But when it comes to climate change, I still feel like we're not doing enough as fast as we should be to stop the catastrophic stuff from happening, because we see all the heat waves that have been going on. We're in an unprecedented era of heat waves. Like, summers are getting hotter, the days are getting longer. It feels like the sun's not going down until like 9:42 p.m. Like, it's already getting scary out here when it comes to this climate crisis. But we're not really looking at corporations like Shell and BP and all these people who, you know, fiend off oil. Really, I think we should live in a country where it's like, hey, fuck oil. Everything's renewable. We have ways of nuclear technologies. We have ways of, you know, solar, wind, all this stuff. We have ways to get energy from the world that don't directly poison it, or at least don't directly poison it at anywhere near the same scale. Like, even with the nuclear, I know there were concerns about nuclear waste and whatnot, but that's trivial compared to what we're doing to the ozone with fossil fuels and whatnot. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling now, but the point I'm trying to make here is, why is it when Republicans get a hold of power, and the story we tell about Republicans getting hold of power is that they will absolutely make everyone's life worse? What does the Democratic Party do? Do they make everyone's lives better, or do they just hold it? It feels like, you know, we're slowly moving closer and closer to the right, closer and closer to fascism, closer and closer to inequality, you know, Christian nationalism, all that stuff. Slowly moving further to the right. But whenever Democrats take over, they don't move us to the left. They just, maybe they'll step over to the left once every couple of years, but they don't steadily move us to the left. They just keep us right where we are. They keep us from going further right, but then they don't do a lot to move us to the left. And that's kind of where I am as someone who's like, I think I try to tiptoe around this shit because I know I am not the most politically educated person in the world. I just have opinions about shit, and I read and I watch some things. But like, I feel like, as someone who is pretty left leaning, I'd like for the country to be way better about certain things. I think, you know, why is it that healthcare is attached to your job? What? There are so many countries that have free or trivially cheap healthcare. Why aren't we emulating that? And I know the reason. Why aren't we emulating a lot of these things in other countries where it's like, hey, this is subsidized, this is paid for by your taxes, etc., etc., etc. Because in America, everything's a market. You got to buy everything in this fucking country, and it leads to the people who do get your money are being very scummy and exploitive about it. Like, sure, it's like, oh, you can do the whole millennial thing of like, hey, why don't you not go out to Starbucks today so you can afford to go to the doctor? That's fine, but like, even, you know what, not even Starbucks, even a lot of these things that used to be, all right, it's just $2 here, $3 here, even those things are like more expensive now. Like now they have what, Panera Bread has a sip club, $15 a month, and you just get as many drinks as you want. It's like, how often are you going to Panera for only drinks? That's the other thing. For only drinks, you're going to Panera for a subscription for that. How often are you going to, you know, all these places? Like, shit, you ever bought a printer? Have you bought a printer in the last like 5 years? A lot of printers are like, hey, here's a subscription service to be able to use your printer. And it's like, what are we doing? A lot of these typical, very, you know, cheap, trivial, one-time purchase things have turned into either a explicit subscription, or they've turned into, oh, well, this thing only lasts like 2 years. This printer is going to break down after a couple of years. This device, this phone, this $1,000, $2,000 phone, $2,000 if you're getting into foldable territory. This hyper expensive phone, it's only really good for like 2 years, and then you go upgrade for the next one. And oftentimes, that phone will be good for 5, 6, 7, 8 years if you want to really just sit on it. And a lot of us do. But the plans are created in a way where it's like, all right, trade in that old phone, get the new thing, get the new thing. The software gets updated to where that old phone you've been using that should be good, the specs in it should be good. They start putting software on it that will slow it down, that will make it seem more feeble. It will make it hitch more. You're putting software made for these higher chipsets. You're putting that on the lower chipset when really you should just be supporting that software that ran fine on the older chipsets. Just support that software for longer and just keep it from, you know, security vulnerabilities and whatnot. That's all most people really even want or need. But that's not the focus. So, you know, people are tossing their phones out all the time. It just feels like there's a lot of ways the Democratic Party could be making things better. And the core frustration that I have is that for as bad as the Republican Party wants to make things for everyone who doesn't have a lot of money and who isn't a straight white male, they want to make things bad at such a massive scale that I wish there was a party that wanted to make things good on the exact same scale. I wish there was a party that was like, oh, if you give us power, fuck that, trans healthcare is free. Like, we are flipping the script on everything. We're doing reparations right the fuck now. Every black person, go down their fucking family tree and their chain, and we're spending a couple years to map out the lineages of everybody. As soon as we figure that shit out, all right, this family gets $10,000. This family gets $1,000. Like, we could do that shit. If we can instate all the shit that they're talking about with Project 2025, if all that stuff can be proposed in mainstream legislation that could be realistically enacted within the next year or so, depending on how the election goes, why isn't there another report somewhere that's like, hey, if we get power and we have this presidential immunity to do whatever the fuck we want, here's all these progressive changes, here's all these good things that could come about that we could make happen immediately. Why does that plan not exist? And if the Democrats are supposed to be the party for the people, why aren't they the ones behind a plan like that? That's kind of where my core frustration comes from, because it feels like there's no opposite to evil. The Republican Party is effectively evil right now.
This is it.
Where's the opposite to it? There's nothing standing in opposition to the Republican Party. There's just one thing standing off to the side of it. Not something that will defeat the party or cancel out their harm, just something that will mitigate it, something that will stop it. And that's the main thing that's frustrating me. I don't know what to do about it. I really don't know what to do about this. I think, you know, the easiest thing to say is to vote for Biden in the election, but like, none of us is excited about Biden. No one's excited about Biden. Even the people who are very fervently like, you better vote for Biden, there ain't no other choice, you better vote. They don't care about Biden. They, what is it? Vote blue no matter who? They don't care who. The slogan is literally, doesn't take into account of whoever that person is. There are very few Democratic candidates that they could put on the ballot that would make people excited to vote for them. And even if you put someone progressive, at this point, you put someone like a, you know, an AOC, who I don't think is even old enough to run for president or vice president. But you put someone like even like a Bernie Sanders. People have been saying, Kamala Harris and Bernie Sanders ticket. Like Kamala as the president, Bernie as the VP. They're saying that could go. I think the Democratic Party has done such a aggressive job of making people turn on Bernie Sanders when he ran in previous elections, that to put him front and center now, y'all are gonna have to do a lot of rewiring, and y'all are gonna have to do a lot of people. Because my own parents, I've talked. That's kind of the reason I wanted to make these videos, because I talked to my parents about politics right before the Supreme Court thing happened, and it was really disheartening to see how dead set they are on one particular narrative, because that's all that's given to them. That's all that's presented to them in news media. They don't care. They outright dislike Bernie Sanders. They have a disdain for him, because they feel like all the people who would have voted for Bernie, those are the people who didn't vote in 2016 and had Hillary losing. When in actuality, Hillary didn't go to the states that she needed to. Hillary did not run an exciting campaign. Hillary thought, okay, I ain't really got to do shit to this guy. All I got to do every single time I'm talking is say how much the other guy sucks. And if that other guy keeps sucking, I win. No, we need something to believe in. People don't get excited. People don't always just get excited about the villain dying. They get excited about a hero winning. You gotta be a hero. You can't just be like, oh, well, I'm not the other guy. That is not an animating force. And I don't think the Democratic Party is ready to have any type of an animating force towards their people, because I think, you know, the wool has been pulled away from a lot of people's eyes, and they see the Democratic Party for what it has been for quite a while now, where they literally only sit there to placate the people and to serve their own best interests, to make sure they're still getting money, to make sure their friends and millionaire families are still getting money, because ultimately the same lobbies that corrupt all politicians are corrupting Democrats too. The same, you know, things that corrupt all politicians are in the Democratic Party. The Republicans are way more blatant about it. The Republicans are way more like, we will blow shit up for our specific donors. But the Democrats also have that bit of corruption in them as well. The Democrats aren't much better than the Republicans on a core level. They just have different morals that are guiding them. Because a Democrat can't see the world getting better, but they have no interest in making it worse. That's the thing. That is the core difference in belief. Republicans know the world can't get better and are invested in making it worse. Democrats can't imagine a better world, but they can see a worse one and are going to fight it off from being worse. But they cannot see it getting better. They can't imagine the steps you would even take to make it better. They can't look at all these other countries with all these different policies that give their people more relief. They can't imagine that, because it's like, oh, more taxes, or redistributing our taxes, or taking money out of the military and doing anything for our people? That's a foreign concept. And then we end up in the same place we've been. And so I just, this video isn't like, you know, there's not some massive call to action, but like I said, in the election, the easiest thing to say is, hey, vote for the Democratic Party. But that's not an exciting thing to say. That's not something that I even feel morally justified in doing, considering the genocide is still going on. Biden is still a very fervent supporter of Israel. Despite Israel like clowning him at a lot of opportunities as well. Like Netanyahu's like, oh, I'll do whatever the fuck I want. I can talk shit in the press as much as I want. No one's excited about Biden. No one's happy. Very few people are happy about Biden. They're just happy not to have Trump. And I think the one thing Biden could do to make people who feel similar to me, to make us feel excited about him, is come out here and say, hey, you know what? They untied my hands. Well, I'm gonna do some shit. All student loans canceled right now. Is that illegal? Fuck you. I have presidential immunity. Like all that stuff. start doing a bunch of things that are going to make people happy, and not just, you know, the 20 something slash shit, I'm about to be 30 something, not just people my age, not just the student loan stuff. You can do stuff for a lot of different people. You can wipe away a lot of different debts. You can fix a lot of different markets and economies and job markets. You can, my parents are telling me that, hey, he talks about how his father was part of a union and how he really values unions. You can put something on the books that makes unionization a mandatory element in all industries. You could do something like that, because, like, look, I'll be honest, I'm not going to say where I work, but we don't have a union. Now, I'll say that company runs things a little bit differently, and they're not a publicly traded company. So the bad shit that happens as a result of trying to get money for stockholders doesn't entirely happen at this company, because the stockholders are the people who work there. But you could totally fix an industry like the video games industry, like the tech industry, where unions are so few and far between. You can fix a lot of that shit by giving them some more stronger government protections there. And, you know, making it to where, hey, this whole group just joined a union and then they all get laid off the next month. That shit can't happen. Put something on the books for that. And embolden or bolster up these government agencies. They're supposed to put in the protections like the EPA, like OSHA, which I understand is like, you know, the Supreme Court's next target. They're trying to get rid of OSHA, for Christ's sake, which makes no sense. You're just going to take away a bunch of protections from work so that, you know, corporations can cut down on a dollar here, a dollar there. And now you have massive workplace accidents going on all over the place. What are we talking about? What are we talking about? Are we going to have 15-year-olds in the fucking machine getting their hands cut off again? Like, what are we talking about? Honestly, that shit's already happening in middle America. There are like, what, 14, 15-year-olds at some of these factories doing jobs that no one else can do because they're smaller, and then getting injuries because of it. These are the things that can be done right now. And if we're being honest, Biden, you got immunity to do whatever the fuck you want. Where's Trump at? You still got them drones. Like, and this is the thing I'm trying to get at, where they have the power to do something like that, but they won't take it because they only look good in opposition to the bad. Just a lack of movement is inherently better than digression. Progress is the true opposite of digression, of degress, regress maybe, but being stationary is not the opposite of going backwards. Going forward is the opposite of going backwards. But we don't want to go forward, or at least we don't want to go forward too fast. Why is that a problem when we're going the other way super fast? So that's where I'm at with all this shit. I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's hard for me now because I feel like me as an individual, I feel like in a very realistic way, the most I could do to help this situation is to dedicate my life to, like, fighting for the shit that I talk about, for fighting for, you know, getting fascism out of politics, for fighting to be the leader of the revolution or whatever the fuck. Like, look, I'm not the Black Messiah. Like, let's keep that real. I'm just some dude on the internet. But, like, it feels like there's a moral imperative to, like, not just sit here and, like, see this bullshit going on and then, like, clock in for work or, like, go watch a movie. You know, it feels like, oh, I'm ignoring this shit by just trying to live my life in a peaceful and comfortable way. It feels like I'm ignoring the stuff that's going on. It feels like I have a moral imperative to, like, do more. But I'm trying to be more realistic about things now, where a couple years ago I absolutely would have been like, yo, blow this shit up. Like, I used to be a lot spicier, and it's probably just because I'm getting older, but I used to be a lot spicier when, like, shit like this is going on. I remember, you know, Kroger has a union. I used to work at Kroger, and I would talk very spicy towards Kroger while on Twitter with my full legal name, and they would tweet back at me like, hey, we didn't shut down these stores for this reason. I'm like, all right. And so, like, I used to get close to the sun sometimes, but, like, that was all talk, and now I'm realizing that was all talk, and a lot of what I have to offer is talk. Am I going out to the marches? Am I doing any of that stuff? I should be, but I have not been up to this point. I'm hoping that the events that we're seeing lately radicalizes people to want to do that work, to want to get out in those marches. Shit, I'm hoping it radicalizes me. And for personal reasons that I haven't really talked about on here. Damn, you know what's crazy? I got into my first serious relationship and then got out of it all in that gap since I've posted a video. But long story short, I have more free time, technically. I did go back to school, so that's taking up a lot of my time. But I have more free time. I could be doing some more stuff. But I got to do it. I got to know what to do. Because a lot of that organizing is no longer taking place in public forums like Twitter. And you got to know who's there. You got to know when shit's going on. I'm not tied in those communities, at least locally here, to know what's going on. Perhaps that's something I should seek out. Perhaps that's something where I'd like to have a more direct effect on things, because I do feel like, you know, putting our faith in these national institutions and putting our faith in these people, in these individuals who hold national offices, I don't know if that's really going to get us anywhere. I think what Killer Mike talks about, and look, I got some issues with Killer Mike. I got some side-eye shit I'd say about him. But I do think he has a point when he talks about, hey, yeah, the presidency is cool and all, but check out your governors, check out your sheriff, check out all your local elections and know who those people are and what policies they want to enact. Because before any of the president's choices or repercussions come down to you, those are the people whose hands have your life within them. So I think that's important too. But even beyond that, I think, you know, community building is probably what we should be focusing on right now, because if shit goes the way that we think it's going to go, / if shit doesn't get better, because I think that's the really thing. If I just say things don't get better, then there's an understanding that Democrat or Republican, things aren't going to get better, or at least it seems like it's not. I think for the Democrats, things can only get so bad, and then when they start seeing people turn on them, they'll do something. But we're seeing that things have not been getting that much better since COVID, really. And I think we need to depend on each other more. I think we need to know who our neighbors are, know who the people in our own backyards and up the street and around the corner and all this stuff are, because when shit happens, those are the people that are near you and the people that you'll need to lean on for support, mutual aid, and all of this. But it's easy to say. It's harder to do. I know that wholeheartedly. I know I need to do more, and I gotta figure that out. But I'll say it's hard. I'll say it's hard for me right now because I'm definitely in a new era that just started, where I have to make sure I'm good so that I can be around to help the next one. And right now I have not been great. I have not been great the last year or so. And I have a lot of more work to do to put myself in a better spot, put myself in a better, more advantageous spot, so that I have the energy, so I have the resources to not just do for myself, but to do for others. Because lately it's been hard to put myself out there for others when I know that I have a responsibility to stabilize myself first. So I'm going to continue that stabilization. I don't know how long that'll take. Hopefully it won't take too long, but I'd like to be there for my community more. I'd like to be there for the people in my lives more. And I got to do that work first. But I do intend to do that work. I do intend to come around and have more to offer others. And I think that's hopefully what other people are thinking about too, with all this shit going on. If you're seeing what's happening in politics and you're scared, lean on the people in your life. Not just your family, not just your friends, but go out there and make friends with other people. be friendly with other people. I kind of miss, I grew up in small towns before I moved up here in the suburbs of Atlanta, and that small town feeling of like vaguely knowing a little bit of everybody, and especially my dad. He's been a high school football coach forever. Everyone knew my dad, and the kind of sense of community that kind of forced me to have, where it's like, hey, I'm a little bit familiar with all these people because they all know someone who's super familiar to me. And I miss that, but I also kind of see the value of that the older I've gotten, where everyone knowing your name, like on some Cheers stuff, everyone knowing your name has value because that means everyone sees you as a person. And if they see you as a person, it's harder to let someone suffer if you're familiar with their humanity. So just see the humanity in everybody. Just do your best to see the humanity in these people, because when shit hits the fan and you need help, it's best to have as many opportunities to get that help as possible. So hopefully we all come to understand that and recognize that. But that's the soapbox. That's all I gotta say. I don't think I have this much footage of God Hand to play, so hopefully I haven't switched to another game or anything. But if I haven't, hopefully you've been enjoying the gameplay. And I should have said this at the top, but every now and then you'll see a little hitch or a pause during the gameplay. I'm emulating this, so it just does that on my computer sometimes. But on Steam Deck, it's very, very smooth. So, hey, look at that. That's pretty cool. But that's all I got today. Thank y'all for listening. Thank y'all for watching. Hopefully, I do want to make more videos on this channel. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know why. I think I had an idea for a series. This isn't an original idea, but I've seen other people do things where it's like, hey, here's what I watched this month. Here's what I played this month. Here's the entertainment media I consumed this past month. I kind of want to start doing that. So perhaps the next video you see on here will be me doing that for one of these months. But no guarantees. I'm not promising anything. I got a paper I need to write right now, but I'm over here recording this. So, look out for me on there. Also, if you have been wondering where the fuck have I been, because I haven't been on this channel, please go out and check out Welcome to the Thing. That is a podcast that I am on with TL Foster. And oh my God, I was about to say Travis Willingham. That is not that man's name. Jarrett. Jarrett. Oh my God. I don't remember Jarrett's last name. This is so embarrassing. No one look at me. Jarrett Green. Yeah, Jarrett Green. I don't know why I blanked on that man's name. But yeah, I do that podcast with them every so often, like every 2 weeks or so. I really like that show, so check that out. I had been doing Spoonful. Since the last time I put out a video, I had been doing Spoonful. We have not done Spoonful in a while because we've both been busy. We have not been hitting each other up, and I actually have a text to respond to him right now for. Not Spoonful related, but I just got to hit up Mario and just like reestablish that line of communication because we've just been moving and shaking and doing a lot. And then VGU.TV. Go to VGU.TV. That's the website. I do the Players Club podcast there. I do a lot more Let's Plays and videos on their YouTube channel now. You can check that out, VGU.TV. Just search any of their videos. I'm on their stuff sometimes. I've been doing a lot of their VGU Plays stuff, so check that stuff out. And that's mainly what I've been doing. Sometimes I'll guest on some of my friends' shows, and I'm having a good time doing that, but it's just a lot. It's just a lot. I've been trying to do stuff out here, and like I said, I am going back to school. I'm trying to finish up next year. I am trying to have some type of recent body of work to point to for these jobs, which I feel like I've been doing for several years now, but now I'm like, okay, I need to figure out how exactly freelancing works so that I can put those rates out and figure out how to get into that job market, because I'm understanding that I won't just get hired at a IGN, GameSpot, any type of like place with a salary and healthcare. It's gonna be a little bit more scrappy than that, and I'm coming to terms with that, and it sucks, but this is the life I said I wanted. I need to act like it, so I'm gonna get on that. But that's enough for me. Thank you all for watching. As I always say, this has been Emmett Watkins Jr., also known as DJ Spun61. And as always, keep it real, keep it trill, and play on, player. Peace out, y'all.